Welcome back to the video, folks. Today we're talking about why I'm trading in my Gladiator. I bought this in 2024 last year, and it was a one owner, had 15,000 miles on it, and it was a 6-speed, and that was my key thing, is I wanted the manual transmission. I do like the 6-speed manual transmission feature. I love the Jeep in general. The thing that's killing me is the clutch. And I've done a lot of research since I've owned it on what I need to do to make it better. And it just seems like every option that I do does make it better, but it has these massive drawbacks that I don't necessarily want to take on. So we've done a couple trails now, nothing crazy. Pretty much you don't necessarily need 4-low, but we've used both 4-high and 4-low. And every trip that we've done, the thing that we get is that clutch sensor is getting hot and that we need to let it cool for a bit. And I'm new to off-roading with a manual transmission, but a long-time manual driver. And for me, that was just a bit odd. I did a lot of research, looked into it, looked at the forums, and most folks say that you shouldn't necessarily need your clutch when you're off-roading, but we found that when we were off-roading, we did need it to kind of get over smaller obstacles where we didn't want to just crunch over them, but we also needed a slower controlled effort to get over them. 4-low did do the trick on some of them, but other ones it didn't, and we had to feather the clutch, and we got that burning smell, high temperature warning. And so that's what plugged me into doing some research. So off-roading with the 6-speed just kind of became like the bigger obstacle, the harder thing to try and figure out what was going on. The research that I found was basically you need to put in your own kind of clutch. Do not do the recall that Jeep has, which the recall prevents the Jeep from burning to the ground. And so I was a bit conflicted as to what do I pick? Do I do the recall? Do I put in my own performance clutch? Yes, we'll get a Mint or trade in the Jeep. So that's what basically led us to decide whether we were going to keep it, do the upgrades, or just trade in for an automatic when we found a killer deal. And that's where we're at, is we found a killer deal. Yay! So what we're doing right now is we're basically kind of outfitting the Jeep for the trade-in with the deal that we found. And so there's a couple accessories that honestly I want to keep / sell on Marketplace, don't want to hand over to the dealer. But mainly I want to add some accessories to the new Jeep, like my fog lights that I have by the windows. But we're also going to take off the 3-hoop bumper. And this Jeep that we're looking at is a 2023, so if we end up getting it, this hoop will not fit as it has the newer size bumper. See how it has numbers? We're going to use the Torx, that's too big. We're going to use the T30. No, T40, I feel like T40 is too big. It's the T40. T40. Margo, what's that called? Tool. That's
Whoa.
right. Good job.
Oh, be careful. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I'll hold that. Thank you.
Very nice.
No, we can't go in there.
Pull this cover off. So the little one can't get to it. Alright, now that we've got that,
They're good?
please don't get stuck moment. Hey! You know, I'll be honest with you, trading in the 6-speed really wasn't on my radar, wasn't really anything I wanted to do. I actually really like this Jeep a lot. But when I started looking at new tires for the Jeep, as they need an upgrade, the expense to put new tires on, and then all the clutch problems, transmission problems folks were reporting with the 6-speed, That is really what deterred me, is when you look at the cost of tires, having to do the upgrades to the transmission, and then you still have all those clutch problems. I really just kind of started looking at the math, and finding a nice upgrade deal to a Mojave or Rubicon just made sense. So last year I did a video about buying a Jeep in 2025, and in that research process and making that video, I found that there was a lot of information about re-gearing, understanding axle ratios, a lot of things that I personally just didn't look into / know were things to consider when buying the Jeep. And so that's why I put that in that video. But now that it's upgrade time / it's time for new tires for my Jeep, I'm realizing that those specs come back full circle to me. And I'm looking at the math and trying to get upgraded tires, looking at going to 35s with a 373 gear ratio. And basically everybody online saying, yeah, that's pretty much the max you want to go. You're going to create a lot of sluggish RPMs. And then there is going to be some extra thought process needed on your clutch and your recall. And so a lot of that just factoring into what I want to do. I'm looking at a lot of expenses that I necessarily don't want to have to do, and knowing that the recall doesn't fix the problem, it just kind of puts a band-aid over it. I'm just kind of done with the 6-speed that Jeep has put out, and I'm going to be trading in for the automatic, specifically because I just don't want to have to deal with the headache. I don't want to be out on trail and it go in limp mode. I don't want to be out on trail with a burnt out clutch, or worse, a burnt Jeep completely. And so for that reason, I'm going to be looking at getting the automatic. In addition to getting the automatic though, Rach and I were talking, she is very good with the 6-speed, but it's just not a comfortable drive, especially when you're dealing with kids and a lot of things going on. So she and I both thought it would be better to have an automatic as a car that both of us can drive. And we also don't have to necessarily swap our car seat in and out, which I'm sure all the guys out there can appreciate. When you have to move a car seat in and out just for one simple drive, and those car seats aren't getting lighter. So for that reason, we also talked about it, and it just made sense if we found the right deal and we got the right Jeep with the right specs that we could upgrade to. And so that's another big reason why we shifted from the 6-speed over to the automatic. So here's an interesting one for you to wrap your mind around. When I looked up what the recall was supposed to be fixing, and I'm no mechanical expert by any means, so I'm taking a lot of this off of Reddit and trying to interpret myself. They basically said that the clutch and the weight of the clutch is just super lightweight. It's not really made out of good material, or it's just lightweight. That part I'm not 100% sure, but the point is it's very lightweight and it's not necessarily robust. What you typically would upgrade to is something that's a heavier clutch. That's what provides you a lot of good feeling, and it adds a lot of stability to your transmission, and the clutch itself is what I gathered when I did my online research. So instead of Jeep fixing the clutch recall and maybe adding a heavier weight clutch, they add a better clutch, but not by much. And then what they do is they retorque the Jeep specs down so that it's not adding so much torque to the clutch and the transmission itself. Again, I'm talking at super wave top levels, can't get into the details because I don't have that expertise. But just the thought of taking the Jeep in for a recall fix to get something that I wanted, and then they're going to take power away from my engine, I don't really want to buy into that. And so that's another big reason why we're switching from the 6-speed back over to the automatic. And one final thing that I did want to talk about that is probably the most alarming for folks that tow trailers is the manual transmission Jeep. No matter what you get, Rubicon, Mojave, or Sport, or Willys, they all come with the lowest tow package, and it's severely reduced compared to the others. So for that today, I appreciate you sticking around for the video. It's a bummer that we're trading in the Jeep. I really do love this 6-speed, and the overall driving experience is great. But the last thing that I want to put up with is being stuck out on trail with a burnt clutch, worse, a burnt Jeep. And the other thing I don't want to do is give my Jeep over back to the Jeep dealership for them to take torque out of my engine and give me a slightly better clutch. So with all that being said, that's why we're trading in, and it's a shame that we're trading this guy, but hopefully the next Jeep, the automatic one, will be a blast.